The call came on a Tuesday morning, right when my screen was filled with numbers that most people only see in headlines. My phone buzzed. Mom. I almost let it ring out. When I answered, her voice had that careful softness, the kind people use when they already know they're about to hurt you, but believe you deserve it. Rachel, she said, I need to talk to you about Thanksgiving. I leaned back in my chair, the Chicago skyline glowing behind my office window. Okay, Mom. There was a pause. Then she continued, slowly, deliberately. Your brother is bringing some very important guests this year. Senior partners, investors, people who operate at a very high level. I already knew where this was going. And? I asked. Well, we think it might be best if you skipped this year. Just like that. Not because of work, not because of distance, because of who I was allowed to be in their story. She rushed to explain, like justification made it kinder. Derek has worked so hard to get where he is. These people matter. First impressions matter. And you, well, you work in that nonprofit space. It's different. These people live in another world. I stared at the sunlight reflecting off glass towers I owned equity in. I understand, I said quietly. I knew you would, she replied, relieved. You've always been so reasonable. Oh, and Derek's firm just closed a $240 million fund. Can you imagine? My son managing that kind of money. She laughed. I smiled politely into the silence. Maybe we'll do lunch in January, she added. Something small. Then she hung up. I sat there for a moment, then turned back to my screen. On it was a merger proposal consolidating 3 healthcare technology companies into a single entity valued just under $400 million. My assistant knocked. Your 10 o'clock is here, he said. Morrison and Partners. I blinked. Morrison and Partners? I repeated. Yes. Venture capital group. They're eager. Apparently they've raised around $240 million and want to expand into healthcare. Something clicked. That's Derek's firm, I said. He froze. Your brother Derek? I smiled faintly. Yes, that Derek. I straightened my blazer. Give me 2 minutes, I said. Then send them in. I walked to the window. For 12 years, my family had dismissed my career as charity work. They never asked follow-up questions. Never listened long enough to hear the shift. I had started in nonprofit healthcare, on purpose. I wanted to understand systems from the ground up, what patients needed, where companies failed, where money disappeared. 8 years ago, I transitioned into private equity. I didn't announce it. No one asked. While Derek collected titles and dinner invitations, I collected data. While he chased validation, I chased leverage. By 34, I ran my own fund. 17 companies. 12 board seats, a portfolio valued at $2.7 billion. But to my family, I was still Rachel who works with sick people. Derek loved that narrative. At holidays, he introduced himself with firm names and fund sizes, then gestured vaguely toward me. And this is my sister, he'd say. She does nonprofit stuff. Very meaningful. Not exactly business, but noble. They laughed. I stayed quiet because being underestimated is a luxury if you know how to use it. The door opened. 3 men entered. I recognized the lead partner instantly. Silver hair, controlled confidence, expensive calm. Behind him were 2 younger partners. Miss Sterling, he said, extending his hand. Richard Morrison, thank you for meeting with us. The pleasure is mine, I replied. Please, sit. They got straight to it. They wanted access, insight, co-investment opportunities. They praised deals I'd structured, companies I'd rebuilt, exits I'd executed quietly. Then, Richard smiled. We just closed a $240 million fund. Took years. We're proud of it, as you should be, I said. He gestured toward one partner. Marcus here was instrumental. And we have a promising associate, Derek Sterling, who's been, he stopped. Marcus stared at the nameplate on my desk. Rachel Sterling, founder and managing partner. Sterling, Marcus said slowly. Derek Sterling, is he your? My brother, I confirmed. The room changed. Richard's smile stiffened. I didn't realize. Most people don't, I said calmly. Marcus frowned. Derek told us he had a sister, but he said she worked in nonprofits. I did, I said. 12 years ago. Richard leaned back. Derek's mentioned being the only one in his family who went into finance. That's true, I said gently. He's the only one in venture capital. The third partner suddenly leaned forward. Wait, he said. I know you. He pulled out his phone. The Wall Street Journal. The quiet architect of healthcare investment. That was you. Richard went pale. Forbes profiled you, Marcus added, scrolling. You were listed as one of the most influential healthcare investors in the country. Third, I corrected. They updated the ranking. Silence. Richard swallowed. Derek never mentioned any of this. He doesn't know, I said. Marcus looked stunned. How is that possible? I never corrected them, I said. They assumed. I let them. Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then up at me. We're supposed to be at your parents' house for Thanksgiving. Derek invited us. He positioned it as an example of his successful family background, I nodded. And what did he say about me? Marcus hesitated, then answered carefully. He said you never really found your footing, that your parents were disappointed, that you chose purpose over profit. I breathed in slowly. And based on that, I said, my mother uninvited me this morning. She said Thanksgiving was for people operating at your level. The silence was heavy now. I'm not telling you this for revenge, I said. You came here seeking partnership. Before we discuss that, you needed the full picture. Richard stood. This is a serious concern. Because? I asked. Because judgment matters, Marcus said quietly, and ego creates blind spots. Exactly, I replied. 20 minutes later, they returned. We want the partnership, Richard said immediately. Without hesitation. And Derek? I asked. Marcus exhaled. We're attending Thanksgiving, and we're not lying. They deserve the truth, the third partner added. And frankly, so do we. I nodded. That evening, my phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Mom said you're skipping Thanksgiving. Probably for the best. These people are high level. You wouldn't have much to contribute anyway. No offense. I smiled. None taken, I typed. Enjoy your dinner. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and clear. I had meetings, decisions to make, a life that didn't require approval. And somewhere across town, a table was being set for a story that was about to collapse under the weight of truth. I wasn't there to see it. I didn't need to be. Because the moment they realized who I actually was, I had already won.